All right, Kayla, where are you from? Welcome.
I'm American.
Oh, Americana. Americana, I wanna gonna.
I am from Texas. First, I want to encourage my fellow women. We have to start taking accountability for the things that we do, including myself. So I do have a story. I'm not here for help because I made sure I was good to take care of the offspring that I brought into this world. But my daughter's dad is a Kenyan man. He pursued me for a year and a half. Like we talked, we saw each other sometimes, but we weren't dating. And eventually he invited me to a traditional wedding. I went to the wedding with him, his sister, and his brother, and we had a good time, so we started like dating each other. His sister invited me to her pinning ceremony, well, her like little ceremony because she became a doctor. And yeah, it started off very well. And once he got me like into a relationship, I saw a different person. A totally different person. So our relationship only lasted 3 weeks. But through this year and a half long time, we had discussed so many things that it seemed like we've known each other for a really, really long time. Because, like I said, we talked all the time. So we had discussed family. We had discussed, like, both of us were supposedly didn't have any children. So, we had discussed how we would want to raise our children if we had children. We broke up after 3 weeks. And 3 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. So I went to him. Actually, let me go back. I was on birth control and I was, trying to do the right thing, but I didn't know that antibiotics cancel out your birth control. So that's ultimately how I became pregnant. I told him I was pregnant and he was like, it's not my baby. But I mean, at the time I was 34 years old, and of course, I'm not gonna terminate at that age because it's either then or it might not ever happen. So I went through my pregnancy alone. I had some friends, around that, was there for me, which is fine. He reached out to me. I was about 7 months pregnant. And he was like, hey, I told my mom, that you're pregnant and we want to be there for you, but I'm not the dad. I just want to be there like an uncle to your child. So I was like, what? Like, that makes no sense. Like, you are the
Wait,
dad.
I want
Yeah.
to get you. I want to get this well. 7 months later, he came back,
Mm,
but he's coming back as he's not the father of the child, but he wants to be like an uncle to the child, like he's doing you a favor.
right.
Ah, Kenyans.
So prior to him doing that, he accused me of being with one of my good friends. And my friend, he was like, I can't believe like this. I really can't believe it. So my friend was like, okay, let's do a DNA test so it'll prove to him that he's the dad. My friend paid for the DNA test. It was $1,700. He paid for it out of his own pocket. He was like, maybe this will make him leave it. Like, because me and this friend, we've never been that ever. So we did the DNA test, came back. It was not my friend's, of course, which I knew and he knew. And I showed it to him. He was like, I want a copy. I'm like, I'm not giving you a copy of another man's personal information. Like, he asked me to show it to you, but I'm not gonna give it to you. That's crazy. So, um, rest of my pregnancy went along. I had to end up having an emergency C-section in the town that he lives in, and I was rushed to the hospital, and he came to the hospital, but he just sat there the whole time. He just sat there. So the day that I had to have the emergency C-section, I asked the nurse to call him, and he was like, I'm at work, I'm not coming. So he wasn't there. My best friend, just so happenly, I don't know what made her come, but she came that day and she was coming up on the elevator as they took me back into surgery. I actually like passed out during my surgery. and my best friend had to take my daughter to the NICU. And when I came to, I was in a room already, and I was like, "Where's my baby? Is my baby?" Because I didn't see my baby. And to be honest, I had no connection to her when I saw her because I had been through so much, you know, traumatically I had been through a lot. So eventually I got up and I walked down the hallway and I saw my baby for the first time. And I just, like I said, I felt nothing, which is sad coming from a woman, you know. So him and his mom came, and they were just like, "Oh, congratulations." She was like, "Do you know the dad? Are you close with the dad?" And at this point, my best friend, she was like, "Are you?" She said, "I'm not trying to be disrespectful because you're my elder, but are you serious right now?" So, it went back and forth. It went back and forth, back and forth. And when I got out the hospital, I didn't really have the help that I needed because I could barely walk. I had a C-section, and I was asking him like, can you please come up? Like, I had no sleep. I was having to sleep on the couch because I couldn't get from my bed, and it was hard. So he refused, but then when it came time, he was like, "I'm just gonna come up there to visit you guys." But of course, he came with a motive. He came with a DNA test. And I was like, I said, "I'm going to give you this DNA test, knowing in my heart that you're her dad because you're the only man that I've been with. And, but I'm going to ask you to never disclose this to her. Never disclose that you denied her. That's the only thing I asked of him. And so we did the DNA test. It came back 99.9 his. So it came to a point where I just couldn't do it by myself anymore. So I decided to go home to Alabama with my family. And I asked him, could he drop me and the baby at the airport? In this moment, he was like, my grandfather is passing. He has cancer. And they want to meet you and the baby and do a traditional ceremony for her. I said, okay. When I went to his mom's house, because they all lived in one house, me and him, we sat in the kitchen and we had a conversation about how he was going to financially help me and help me through everything, like help come take care of her, help everything. And he was like, well, I'll pay daycare. This was a very stable man, like financially very stable. I'm an educator, I'm a teacher. We don't make a lot of money, but when we came to that agreement, I was okay with it. He said, I'll pay her daycare, which is totally fine with me. And that would have helped me out a lot. So I'm sitting there, his grandfather, his aunt, his uncle, some of the kids came into the house and they were looking at me like, who are you? They said, who are you? And I'm like, I'm Jeremy's daughter's mom. And they was like, Jeremy has a daughter? And they was like, who is Jeremy? So I didn't catch on to who was Jeremy because I'm confused. I'm thinking like, okay, I thought y'all knew we were here because he said they wanted to do a ceremony. Nobody knew about her. So the next morning I got up, I flew home, came back. Because I left my car at his mom's house. He was not there to pick us up from the airport. I had to take an Uber from the airport to the house to get my car. He had thrown all of me and my daughter's stuff out into my car. It was horrible. It was hot. It was the summertime in Texas. So I drove us home. And from then until November, I didn't hear from him. July to November, I heard nothing from him at all. I get a phone call from his aunt, and she says, hey, I want to tell you something. And I'm like, okay. She was like, sit down because it's not going to be something that's going to go over easy. And I said, okay. I sat down and she told me that he had 3 other children. And I was like, wow. Because I'm still confused. Like, why are you not wanting to be a part of your first child's life? Like, I didn't know he had other children. And I had been around his mom. I had been around his sisters. I had been around his brother. Nobody ever stepped up and told me this until his auntie. 5 months. My daughter was 5 months old. She was like, put him on child support. So that's what I did. I put him on child support. And instead of him just stepping up and doing what he was supposed to do, which was paying the daycare, he never did that. So he quit his job. He quit the job because he thought he wouldn't have to pay still. So we go to child support, and they was like, "Are you capable of working?" He said, "Yes." She said, "Okay, well, we're gonna base it off your last job." So that defeated the purpose of him, quitting his job. Still to this day, my daughter is 2 years old. He has never paid a dime of child support. Um, he has visitations. She has went with him, but I just found out recently, probably a month ago, when she was going with him, he was dropping her off to his girlfriend. And yeah, really not spending the time that he said he was spending with her. I did meet his girlfriend before, she went with them or whatever, but that's not what I was thinking was happening. I thought he was actually spending time with her. And for me, that was good enough because I can sustain me and my child alone financially. I can, but I wanted her to have him in her life. That was more important to me. So one weekend she went with him and she came back different, a different child, like screaming at night, going to daycare, like slapping the teacher, being mean, like knocking stuff off the table. And that did not sit well with me as a mother. It wouldn't sit well with any parent, I would hope. So I me being the person that I am, I wrote him and I asked him, "Hey, um, how was she this weekend? Like this, what how was her behavior or whatever?" He was like, "Well, it was fine. What are you trying to say?" I was like, "Well, this is the behavior she's showing now that she's home." And he was like, "What are you trying to say?" And I was like, "I'm not saying anything. I'm asking you a question. Like, how was she?" So he got upset, said I was accusing him of stuff. And since then she has not been back. And her pediatrician told me to call CPS on him. But I just know that that would cause so much more like headaches, not only for her but for myself, because I know he would turn around and do it to me for no reason at all. So, like I said, she hasn't been back. Like, I invited him to her birthday, him or his family, nobody showed up. And I've decided to just let it all go. And he tells me all the time, like, "You're the reason why she won't have a father." And I tell him all the time, "She will have a father, it just won't be you. And that's your choice." So we as women, we have to, like I said earlier, we have to learn how to, yes, I should have probably not even went back down that road after that first date situation. I should have not done it. But we all make mistakes and we have to own up to them.
Do
So
you
yeah.
actually know, that sorry, do you actually know, and can you take accountability that you enabled this guy? You
Yeah.
enabled him.
Mhm. Yeah, I could take accountability for that.
Mm. You enabled him.
Mhm.
And I'm still surprised why you haven't cut him off completely. Why
I
you still
have.
hanging
I
around.
have. I have. After this last situation, I'm completely done.
Mm.
I do not love him.
How
That's
old is
not
this? Your child is 2 now, right?
Yeah, she's 2. She turned 2 in June.
I'm sure you have you been to Kenya before?
No.
Did you hear what I said? Did you hear the advice I
Yes.
give to non-Nigerians?
Mhm. I heard
Yeah.
you loud and clear. Yeah, but like I said, but I have met his family. I've met extended
Mm.
family, aunts, uncles, grandfather, everybody, and it was a shock to me to find out like
Mm.
you have 3 kids. Your name is not really Jeremy. You're not the age that you told me you were. Like, it was just a whole lot of
False informations.
yes, it was yeah. And it was crazy that the family played along, most of them.